prepared ourselves as best as we can. It feels a little bit like the Spider-Man pointing at the Spider-Man meme. We've got two people from the music press chatting to each other today. Joining me today, and probably not used to this being on the other side of the chair, is Dan Catania of Headbangers Australia. Dan, how are things going, mate?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Pretty good. As you said, this is I'm normally asked the question, so this is going to be a very interesting experience for me to receive the questions that you ask.
Well, I got plenty in mind, but I think really you guys you've had such a journey. I almost don't have to ask many questions because there's been a lot that's happened for you the last 6 months, man. Like things have really taken off for headbangers recently.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, well, it's just I can't really explain the rapid growth that we've had.
Mm,
It's been really fast, and I didn't really expect it to go to this level. I
yeah.
When we started it, I thought it was going to take about 3 to 5 years to get to this stage. So,
Yeah.
so
Because
here we are.
that's the sort of the generic SEO podcasting advice you get, right? Like you start a thing, expect to wait 3 to 5 years to hit X milestones, but it seems like you guys have really kind of hit the ground running, like, and that you've gone from essentially, I guess, what the ISC model is, which is a little bit more sort of like hobby, doing it on your own time kind of podcast. I mean, check out, you compare the two offices. But you've really like quite recently decided to make a decision to take things to the next level, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, pretty scary, pretty crazy. You
Yeah.
know, People doing crazy stuff, but hey.
So if you don't mind me asking, so what sort of plans have you got in the moment at the moment? You mentioned on your socials that you've gotten up to about 2,000 followers across your accounts and that you're actually looking at implementing like a proper business structure to Headbangers. So what's that looking like for you at the moment?
Yeah, so well, at the moment, probably by the time it's released, we may have launched it. So basically, going forward is that since for 1st of July, we've made the decision to be a business. It's just for us to sustain it. As you said, when you're doing it as a hobby. And for me, I think the way it's just grown that fast because I haven't been working for the last 6 months. I haven't had a day job.
Yep.
So I've been doing most of the hassle, most of the grind on my own.
Mm.
Uh, and pretty much getting to how it is now. That's because I'm just on not mental, medical leave, my
Yeah.
medical
Yeah.
exempt. So yeah, so I've just been using that time instead of just playing PlayStation all day, just be productive on it because it's something that I enjoy doing.
Mm.
But yeah, so just with the current model, so yeah, so we kind of made the decision to like go into a business direction. It's just that we feel like when we're doing it for free, like bands that came with and worked with us, they really appreciate what we've done for them.
Mm.
And I feel like there are some services that we can do as well. Like we also do album reviews,
Mm.
and we feel like they go to other platforms. They do a good
Mm.
job as well, but because I think that they're just under the impression that they're paid, they're going to get something out of it,
Yeah.
where maybe they might question it. So we kind of thought, well, we probably need to actually go into that direction. It's also to keep the business running. Basically, as a hobby, you got to pay Zoom subscription
Yep.
because you have an interview more than 30 minutes, it cuts the connection.
Mm.
Uh, what else was it for? Gear. If the computer dies, you got to go fix it.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Uh, so you got all these expenses as well, and also. It had a big impact on us about a week ago where we had an opportunity to go to Linton. They had like a gig up in Linton just around New South Wales.
Mm.
Um, and we weren't able to go there. Well, me personally, I wasn't able to go there because I just get a couldn't get a room. I had no funds, I had no money. So for
Yeah.
us to continue covering Australia, because that's what we want to do. We want to do Australia. We just don't want to do just Sydney
Yeah.
because it's this is where we are at the moment. We want to
Mm.
look at Melbourne, Brisbane, pretty much
Yeah.
cover the Australian scene as much as we can. But I think in the last 6 months is that we've got engaged with overseas, mainly in Germany.
Yep.
We had a band called Dark Indication came to us because they found us through one of the international interviews that we've done, and so they hit us up, and that's how it started to get to where we are at the moment. So they've actually, well, what was it? Yeah, I guess what happened is they basically wanted to be interviewed, and I just said, oh, I don't do webcam interviews. I do like footage. I do that,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I think that with that kind of growth, I basically, yeah, basically we were just trying to just to move forward and all that as well. So I guess with the model, it's basically going to be a hybrid subscription model.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Um, so basically, we'll start off. The max will be 6 months subscription. So it starts from the band's album campaign. So they've got
Mm-hmm.
like singles, album launching. So it's pretty much going to be at the start of the campaign. So we'll have a meeting. We'll find out what's in their package, what they have
Yep.
plans for. We will provide media support. So what I mean by media support, I don't mean we are media partner
Yep.
because we're a platform that encourage bands to talk to other media like yourself as well as hobbies as like like what
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
um, and go to Metal Roots, Heavy Mag, Black. I think what's it?
Oh, it's on
Ever
the tip of my tongue
Plus.
too. Ever
Yeah,
Black? Ever
yeah,
Black.
Ever Black,
Ever
Ever
Black.
Black.
Black Dye Murder. There we go. We
Yeah,
got there.
yeah. I know
Yeah.
he's a Singapore Snake Mountain, and his format's pretty good. Yeah, you
Mm.
also got people that talk music as well, and you've got all these lot of content creators coming into this to Australia in the last 2 3 years. It's just grown,
Yeah.
and, and there's a lot of more YouTube interviews now in Australia, and there's a lot of coverage.
Mm.
Uh, I think there's one scene of Still as well to add that to the list, and you got heavy, and I think Hot and Heavy show they've
Yep.
grown as well. They've grown really well, man. I'm really
Yeah.
they've been doing, and I know their audience, so they're
Yeah.
pretty good as well. So yeah, I guess that. So that's what we want to do. We need to support, they're going to do a release. Have you got a press release? How do you write one? Okay, no worries. I'll write the press release because, as you know, we get press releases all the time. So you're like, oh yeah, that's what a press release looks like.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So Dan, it sounds like you've really thought this through methodically and you're putting like a proper structure to it.
yeah,
What you mentioned before, like you said that, we're working with bands for free and that sort of thing.
yeah.
When Headbangers first started out, what kind of point, what sort of moment for you was the moment was kind of the deciding factor? Was there like certain circumstances or a certain event, or you just made the decision to kind of scale things up? Like,
It's a long story, man.
it's all right.
Look,
That's what a podcast's for. And by the way, talking about bills and that kind of thing, Stalker and the others aren't going to be happy to hear this if they even listen to it. But you have the privilege, my friend, of being the first person on not free Zoom, so we don't get interrupted. So,
oh,
yeah,
cool,
talking about
awesome.
bills. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
yeah, I know.
interrupted you again, but yeah.
That's all right. That's all good, man. When I first started Zoom, I only had the free one, and then I'm like, why does it cut off every 30 minutes? I'm like, damn, we have to pay. Always money, man. Yeah, like the idea started. Like I was in the band at the time,
Mm,
um, and and I was inspired, and I watch a lot of YouTube. And I was inspired by Ola England. You heard of Ola England?
yeah, Ola, coffee with Ola. It's
Yeah,
classic.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
classic YouTube metal right there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was inspired with the way he actually formatted his channel
Right.
because I'm a bassist, I'm not a guitarist, but
Mm.
like if he does videos about guitar tones, I'm like, eh. But when he does coffee with Ola,
Yeah.
the Swallow when he does his Sunday Revolvers, Sunday
Yep.
Revolver.
Yep.
So I thought there's not much bass content. There's not much what he does. It'll be good if someone does it for bass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So originally I was in the band. So originally I was like, well, when Ola does longs when he goes to gigs, which, pretty much Europe, they pretty much go to the good ones and we just go to the
Yeah.
pub. I thought, you know what, it'd be interesting to show what an underground operates in Australia, for that on
Mm.
the side. If I had gigs, I go film it.
Mm.
And at the same time, we'll talk about bass gear, like I'm a dark glass lover. I love the dark
Oh.
glass. I fucking love
Oh,
it,
you're a
man.
rich man too, are you?
No, no, back then I had a full-time job. Back then
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like working for the man, they call it. I was working for the man
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
I was working for the man. So I was like, so I had a full-time job and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
so anyway, and it probably gave me a bit, yeah. So that was the idea, and I never had time because I had a day job.
Mm.
And yeah, sorry, I just get emails popping up. I do
Oh,
apologize.
I'm the same. I'm just trying to flick mine away as well. That's how it is.
Yeah. And so I just gotta close that screen on the computer. Hey, welcome to Zoom, bro. Um, so yeah, basically I left the day job.
Yeah.
I just had some free time. So it's like, you know what? If I'm not gonna do it now, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Started off as my own name.
Mm.
And at the same time, I actually, the band, we didn't decide to continue anymore. And so I had
Mm.
no job, no band. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, this is a bit of a, tough situation, but I'm sure I'll get by it. So I just put YouTube. So I just filmed the scene basically in Sydney. I
Mm.
just filmed bands playing and then I just made reels, played bass. And then I started to use Ola's England format, and I used to call it
Mm.
Metal Evening with Dan.
Oh, yeah.
One of my early stuff, so I used to like talk about the local news. So I'll be like, T-Rex Top Tops is announced an album, blah blah blah, or Temptress is doing this, and oh, your mate bookings, he's got Suri Vongo coming into Australia,
Yeah.
just pretty much how Ola used to do the news, same format, similar format, and then I used to
Yeah.
go, then just go to gig and film it. And basically, I used to have I think I had music background as well, so I used to like use that kind of try to get that format.
Yeah.
But I found that it was really burnt. I was burning myself out
Yeah.
because when you play with YouTube and you do it from scratch, people go, oh, it's fun and stuff. It's fun, but it can also be really stressful and burn
It's
out
a
because you.
it's a grind, man. I mean, there's a reason. There's a very real reason why. I mean, behind me, I've just got a bomb site, and I don't have the U-Butte Flash setup. I think that's something that's worth like maybe even us talking about because even with video editing, right? Like people say, oh, well, you look at the amount and the number of high quality YouTubers across the board, and it's one of those things where it can kind of make it seem a little bit like you watch a Flash musician play something looks effortless, but actually there's a ton of work that goes behind the video side of things, right?
Oh
Has
yeah.
that been your experience?
Oh yeah, yeah, back when I was on my yeah, as I said, when I was doing it as my own name, I
Mm,
had it's like, oh, I like your work, I like how you're filming, I like your filming. Oh, you want to go do that? Do you want to go do this? Do you want to do that? I'm like, yeah, okay, because I just never wanted the experience. And then I did a festival a year ago, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'll get it done in a week. And then I just realized I burned myself out.
oh
I
shit, yeah. Yeah.
filmed 10 or 12 bands that day.
Yeah.
And the way I used to do it was like I filmed them for 10 to 15 minutes,
Mm,
multi one camera. I only use one cam, and then I just go angle. So one angle,
yeah.
drums, and then I'll just slide it in, and it was in a widescribe format, and I'll just go and I always go, okay, this is the good bit. I'll add that in. Oh, the drums is playing that. Okay, that looks cool. The crowd's fucking going crazy. That's fucking good. That's what I want.
Mm,
And then I'm like, I've got live track because the condenser mic picks up the live audio. So I'm like, okay,
Yep.
cool. This is the best part of the song. And then you have challenges. So it's like, okay, this is the best bit. And then you look at one camera. One camera is the vocalist is actually singing, and it matches. That's the live footage.
Yeah.
You're like, well, okay, got to keep that bit. And then you look at another footage, and you're like, and you realize the singer's at the back, like
Yeah.
he's not in position. So you're like, okay, now we have to go around it, so it makes it look like the singer is static or moving in that little section. So, like,
Mm.
it's hard for me to explain it, but he's in this section. He's got this little area. If
Yeah.
he's outside the area, it kind of, for me, it's like, for me, it's obvious that he's not there. Like, it's
Yeah.
got mixed. I make it feel like it's like a movie. It's like a live clip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So to give it like that kind of like continuity, I guess, just even within the
Yeah.
footage in the clip. Yeah.
And then when you want to add the drummer, and if it's going, so you're like, okay, do I have footage of him going? And if I don't, I'm like, okay, is he hitting the cymbals?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, cool. So I'll like slow on the camera, and when I see the drummer hit the cymbals, I'm
Yep.
like, yeah, or even the snare. I'm like,
Mm.
yep, that's the best I can do. Cool, done. So doing that was a burnout. Like for 10 bands, I didn't get it done. I think that event was around June. I didn't even publish it to September because it just burned me out. So
Yeah.
actually, it would have been, I think I did it in October. So
Right.
it burned me out, man. And
Yeah.
and then unfortunately I just had some bad circumstances. My father
Mm.
passed away in December. And then after that, people that I considered family, they started to cut me off. So I was really in a dark place. It kind of triggered that's where my mental health started
Yeah.
really badly.
Mm.
I was emotional. I was really, really high with anxiety.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was really in a bad place, really in a dark, dark place.
Mm.
And Dave Balfour, I'm sure you've heard of Dave Balfour.
Oh yeah. See him every
Yeah.
day in Music Legion. Yeah. Hey Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Shout out.
So yeah, shout out to Dave Balfour, man, one of the great promoters in Australia.
Yeah.
Uh, so he does dual assassins, and basically one of the people that are running it, they came and approached me and said, "Look, do you want to do dual assassins?"
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, won't be, we'll be all right if I just do it. Like I'm not in the right frame of mind. I don't really want to do it, but I'm
Yeah.
like, it'll help me just get my mind off stuff.
Yeah.
And so we did this do assassins, and Dave was very helpful and supportive. He was able to let me introduce Hyena. They came from Peru. They were playing, so
Mm.
we were meant to interview Raven, but we just couldn't do it due to logistics.
Yeah.
So, and I interviewed some other bands as well in that festival and the people. And then I went to sleep, and when you got high anxiety and you got high depression and you've got amplified emotions, like I found out back in February, I've got borderline personality disorder. So it kind of didn't make sense at the time, but I'm like,
Yeah. Just that, just hyper vigilant, constantly. Yeah. Yeah.
emotions,
Yeah.
emotions like with people with borderline personality disorder, it's basically amplified emotion. So I'm talking
Mm.
layman terms. If you got a headache and it aches, just imagine if you're upset and it amplifies, or you're
Yeah.
hurt, it amplifies it. Can't control it. We do have therapy in place and all that but when you get to that episode, it's like an entity takes over,
Yeah. Yeah. The frontal lobe just goes, I'm off to lunch, and you're
yeah,
just left with that animal sort of brain stem and it's raging kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I was sleeping. I'm like, this is gonna. I think I've got something going. All this
Mm.
interview I've done, like during that day, I just felt engaged. And I'm like, I'm not in a band. I
Mm.
haven't, I've got jobs that I had casual jobs that just like 1 minute you're working, 2 weeks are like, oh, you're not a good fit. You're back to the drawing board and you work your
Yeah,
ass off.
yeah,
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 those fucking labor high shit jobs. And
yeah, yeah.
so I'm like, this is something good.
Mm,
I give it a name because if I use my own name, it's not going to be an impact. It's not going to have a message. It's not
yeah.
going to have. So I'm like, it needs a name. It
Mm,
needs, and I'm like, and I was thinking about handbaggers more. I'm like, that's a good name, but I'm sure someone's got that name. I'm like, all right, handbaggers, and we're in Australia, handbaggers Australia. So I'm like, this is a fucking cool name.
yeah.
I'm like, so I'm like in bed, and I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, get my fucking phone, and I'm like, has anyone got that fucking name? I'm like, oh,
No one else
okay,
has taken this. Headbangers Australia, really? Yoink. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
the fuck. It's a simple fucking name. Headbangers, Australia. No one fucking took it.
I can't,
So I'm like,
I actually think that like before this interview, I was actually looking around like, surely not. Surely Dan can't be the first. Like Headbangers Australia, it's like Vegemite and cheese, but hey. It's a primo spot, my friend. And look, I just want to say, obviously, like I'm really sorry to hear about your loss with your
yeah,
dad, and that it sounds like a lot of this was forged, like basically in the fires of a really, some really bad times. And for me, obviously it's apples and oranges, but I had a pretty rough trot around the same time you did, and in fact, I feel like I'm still picking myself up out of there. But isn't it interesting? I just think that, people think that to have a muse, like a riff or an idea or a flash of inspiration, oh, that can't happen because I'm unwell, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes these ideas and these motivations can come in like your darkest times, right? It sounds like a lot of this was actually forged during a difficult time, and it helped at the right moment to kind of help pick you back up, have a goal, have
yeah,
some autonomy, something to kind of like frame around it.
yeah. Yeah, like I've been thinking about it a lot, about because at the time I just didn't think about it. Like I had a lot of emotional baggage, you could say, a lot of
Yeah,
processing I was going through in my head, a lot of anxiety, a
yeah,
lot of stuff. So I found that once I branded it, I said, okay, Headbangers Australia, no one's taking the name. And I had to go to work the next day. And I'm like, oh man, I just want to go home. So as soon as I got home, I just fucking made a logo in 5 minutes.
wow, there you
You're lucky
go.
yourself. I just made it in 5 minutes. It came out. I'm like, does it look? Yeah, it looks like a logo. And I put a YouTube channel because it was meant to be a YouTube channel.
Yeah, yeah,
It was meant to be YouTube channels. And then back then I had a shed outside my house. And I was like, all right, welcome to Headbangers Australia. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. For us to be sustainable, we need sponsors.
yeah, yep,
I'm kind of thinking, well, we're going to, I'm kind of thinking, how the fuck do we survive? Oh, we need sponsors. And I'm like, back then, I'm like, I haven't really thought about it. Like, we were for, we were for, oh, we'll just get sponsors. I'm sure someone will sponsor us, but I was kind of kidding myself, but I just had to make it be positive, and I just had this spark of energy.
yeah,
And and then I'm like doing the editing. As we know, editing's a pain in the ass. And
mm,
I'm like, how can I make this how can I make this from a standard video, YouTube video? Because normally with my videos, I put music in the background. Do you
yeah.
put music on for your podcast?
I do for some of the podcasts, but I have noticed that you have actually, I feel like one thing with your channel too, mate, is that you do that mix well of always having those tracks in the background there too. Do you feel like
Yeah,
that's also maybe to get kind of around that sort of, I guess, the grind of editing, keeping it novel, keeping it fresh for yourself, like adding in music, that sort of thing? Was it a
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
that, or a little bit wanting to, differentiate yourself, or a bit of both?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because So yeah. It was all about with the pro. Even when I did my earlier videos as Dan Catania, like I try to put music in the background. Like I used to do interviews for bassists. So you
Mm.
know, the Coca-Cola, I used to call it the low end. I used to interview you
Yeah.
know, I used to make fun of rhythm guitarists because being a bassist, I've noticed you play bass as well. So if you're in a band, you always get picked on by the guitarist. So I'm like, well, in this fucking show, the low end, the guitarists are put up with our shit. So like, fuck you. This is the low end. Like, you know, I act like a fucking dumbass and have like this kind of like bass jokes, inside bass jokes when we talk
Yeah.
to the bass musicians. And it worked really well in the local scene, especially with the basses. I used to have basses. Oh, can you interview me? I'm like, yeah, well, what do you have? Do you have a release? Do you have something? Not really. It's like, it's gonna be hard to work, but if you want to interview, I'm like, okay, because I'm always thinking about the editing
Yeah.
process
Mm.
you know, I'm always thinking about the editing process. So
Mm.
that's when I started to experiment with those videos. They were very high production. They went for 40 minutes
Yeah.
and there was a lot of editing because I was taught by, try to get the eye retainer, you make sure that things are moving. So I was just put like photos, dang, 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 dang. And that's how I learned how to edit. That's how I started to edit. I never went to film school, never got taught how to do video editing. I just learned myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're doing all these video editing, all that stuff. So when they came to the first episode for Headbangers Australia, which was called Welcome to Headbangers Australia, it was only a 5 minute video. So I was lucky that I just had some backing tracks from Carbon Black because we are just going to do we're meant to do the low end. That's also why the idea came back as well because Rob Giles from Carbon and Black wanted he had like a EP launch and he
Yeah.
wanted to be reviewed and I said, look, man, I don't do it anymore, but I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, okay. And so that also sparked with the name as well. And so I put in the Carbon's Black soundtrack and I'm like, okay, I just got to put credit Carbon Black's music. And I'm like, welcome to Hybridised Australia. So we balanced the music and I thought we needed something different. And that's when I implemented the graphics. I don't know if
Mm.
you ever seen Headbangers Australia's videos.
Yeah.
So we have these graphics and they're very informative. And then when I'm doing it and I'm having this idea, I'm like, that's like MTV Headbangers
Yeah.
Ball back in Europe
Yep.
and that stuff. All that coming in, boom, boom, boom. It's like a music channel. It's like, wow.
Hang on a
I was
minute.
like,
This is actually, yeah.
yeah, I was like, holy shit. Did I fucking do that? A dumbass like me did it. It's like, what the fuck? And and I'm like, all right, well, like you won't know until people watch on YouTube. And then I put the video and I just went made a Facebook social media page, Headbangers
Hmm.
Australia, Instagram, Facebook, and then I'm like, welcome to Headbangers Australia. Based on Still Assassins, I just got
Ta-da. Yeah.
inspired to do this format. We brand it. So yeah, here's the first video. And I had this momentum, so I had all the Still Assassins footage. So I just did the old way, how I used to do the videos, but I did it more smart. I'm just like, good bits, good bits, good bits. Fuck it, how it works. Mash it all in. Put live track. Put it in. The video went off. Not on YouTube, but just in the social media. And wants to go, what the Headbangers, all these Headbangers Australia. Was just like in the first week.
Yeah.
And Still Assassins video, and I branded it as Still Assassins TV because I felt that Still Assassins is a great festival, and it's
Yeah.
when the idea was based on Wacken. The Wacken.
Mm.
My German's pretty bad, and I do speak with Germans most of the week, every day.
Fucking sorry,
Yeah,
Germans. But yeah.
I know. Yeah, so I want Wacken TV, how they have Wacken
Yeah.
TV
Yeah.
based on. So I wanted Still Assassins TV based on that. So we have a couple of episodes, and instead of just filming bands and just footage.
Mm.
Let's do something different. And at the time, I was really energized. Was something very different, something that I haven't done before,
Yeah.
and it was my challenge. So we started off with that, and then we did the low end with Rob from Carbon Black, and I'm like,
Hmm.
you know what, we're still gonna keep the low end. It's honoring the old channel with
Yeah.
its root. We did it. and I wasn't happy with the viewers, because when you got YouTube and your subscribers like us, at the time, I probably didn't even have a. I think I only had like 120, 130 at the time. Like I still haven't got high numbers, and back then when you're a YouTube channel, you do stress about that kind of stuff. It does your head
Yeah.
in. You're
Yeah.
like, I made a great video, man. I did this and I spent fucking 10, 12, 14 hours
Yeah.
doing it. Like that's like Headbangers Australia's videos. Some of the videos that we do for 5 minutes, sometimes they take 6, 7 hours because graphics.
Yeah.
Graphics is
Yeah.
one of them. Music, if the music's not balancing, if or background noise, if the audio is bad because you got to look at all these factors because there's a standard that I've learned over time, and it's like with people liking these videos, you got to hold to a standard, and if the
Mm.
standard not hold up to, it can really go like that, and we could make
Mm.
sure that it needs to be the headbanger standard, and so yeah, so as I said, when I was doing the low end with Carbon Black, great episode. I like, well, I thought I really like it.
Mm.
It's just that it's long.
Yeah.
It's 40, and it's not like it's not even a webcam, kind of like Zoom format.
Yeah.
I had 3 cameras. At the time, I actually needed to get away from my environment, so I actually Rob lived in Wollongong, and I actually like Airbnb in Wollongong. I'm like, oh, you know what? This is a nice house. I can film some YouTube stuff because I wanted to do a mental health channel under my
Yeah.
own name, about mental illness, and it was good in that way. It was therapy, and I released 2 videos, but I thought that I don't want to release it anymore because that's just me in a bad place, very
Yeah.
emotional, very dark, very angry,
Yeah.
and it's not doing anything. So, um, and then I guess like with all these, yeah, with Rob, when we filmed Rob, there was kind of like, fun, talking about bass and doing that. And just looking at the numbers, and we're like, well, if we're gonna do something that's 40 to 50 minutes, we can't do it anymore, man, because the editing is just too much. The way I do my videos, 40 to 50 minutes, it takes days and week or a week.
Yeah.
Uh, Back then, I didn't have press releases, I didn't have labels,
Yeah.
back then, I didn't have that kind of stuff. It was just YouTube. So, so it's kind of like going forward now, where like when we do videos for bands, I do need to assess, I do have to go, well, is this going to be impactful? Is it going to be a good return on investment? Because we don't want to waste people's time. We don't want to waste anyone's time. So we're going to make sure it's productive.
Yeah.
So when I look at videos and stuff like that, I normally say make it less than 10 minutes because it's
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And I guess that speaks to like the changing landscape of like social media and that sort of thing too. Because if we were having this conversation like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
we'd probably be talking about our writing craft, but like the way that economies of scale and technology and blah 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 has worked. Now everyone's got a sweet data plan on their phone. Now their phone can play 4K videos. So it's almost like for the socials game, I put out a lot of pretty text heavy releases and not as many reels and that sort of thing. But that's kind of that had I had factored that into my decision making about because I was kind of on a branch path, like I'm doing my own business stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
And I actually had a sort of a sit down with myself and go, okay, what's involved to stepping, say, in a strength check up to something like Headbangers Australia? And the reality is, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you're not going to get by in terms of growing your audience or keeping up that standard if you're just sticking to like images and text posts. The reality is now with any kind of music press media outlet that wants to get serious, it's like video has to be part of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But I don't think people realize how much work goes into like, people get reels and shorts and they're like, yep, dopamine, ding, my melted brain goes on to the next thing. But what they might not be realizing is that 5 minute clip might have, like you said, like what, 6, 10 hours behind it sometimes?
Well, when I started doing reels, I actually enjoyed doing reels than doing YouTube videos, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah,
Reels are very quick, very effective.
yeah,
They're very, I started to I started to do some with some of the certain bands. Like they've got footage and then, even music videos, and I'll just make it into anyone can do it. It's not like you need to be, you just get your phone. Everyone watches it like in this kind of size these days now. It's
yeah.
like phones there. So make it in that format. And I'm like, okay, what's the band's got? Band's got a tour poster. Have they got a single or album? Because remember, I don't know if you ever grew up with MTV or Channel V. You ever grew up watching Channel V and
Yeah, and
MTV?
we've always got you've got the setup behind you, but it's like directly relevant to the band too, which is something I also like about your channel too. You've got that like it's almost like that news bar style feed coming in, but just with info about the artist. And I think that's a nice extra touch that um maybe we won't give away too much of the secret sauce, but but it's a good touch. And I think that's also an important distinction too, Dan. It's like you can work on polishing content till the cows come home, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, in terms of like the content creator landscape, there's so many people with super duper 8 million K polished videos. At some point, you do have to kind of step back and go, number one, how do I make this different? Number two, how do I make this my own, right? Which it sounds like you have. But in terms of, you mentioned that. So the first sort of part of this conversation, we're looking a lot at like video editing and press releases and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Have you found how's your workflow kind of changing at the moment now that are you are you are you still are you doing a Brady and still trying to do all of it or most of it, or are you delegating a bit more? Like what are you sort of how's it
Yeah,
looking?
just for a bit of a background of basically just operations I pretty much run it on
Yeah.
my own. We do have we made it to announcements. We have Elias from Anoxia.
Yeah,
Uh,
congrats, Elias. Good pick. Yeah.
yeah, and we've got Dead by Dawn, Matt Farrellgood. We've got
Yeah.
about two more people, but we just haven't announced it yet because the way I want to operate, I've just learned that from the early days of Headbangers Australia. When we say, "Oh, we've got these people," bang, bang, bang. It's like introducing a band member. We've got this new
Yeah.
member of the band, and then that, but they never played a gig. So we're like, well, until they do their assignments, like, because I operate like a musician. It's like a band. I've got musicians operating because I rather have musicians in this platform.
Mm.
Yeah, people nothing like I would love to have a journalist, but it's like we don't have anything that we can give in value for a journalist unless
Yeah.
they want to do it like for free. But no, who wants to work for free, man? You know?
Mm.
And so yeah, we've got Elias and Matt, and they've both got bands, they've both got families, and they've both got day jobs, and they're very busy. So the
Mm.
way we operate with our contributors is basically if we got a press release, like to work for our media crew, I'm very sensitive with information.
Yeah.
So they have to sign like a media confidential agreement, like because they'll get access to new releases.
Mm.
Usually you can like you can't go that outside. It's pretty much media protocol, You've probably seen press releases of some new music and like, well, I can't actually publish it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
embargoed, they call it usually. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Um, but only like give it to them when it's basically for intimate release. If it's embargoed, it stays on the inbox and I action it because it's end of the day, it's my responsibility. If we make
Mm.
mistake, it does impact that brand. And
Yeah.
you've got to like give them what they need. So if like with interviews, we have like a band interview coming. We should have one coming in a couple of weeks if everything goes well. We just, depending on the Zoom arrangements these days.
Yeah.
You get scheduled Zoom interviews with international bands. So Well, you know, basically we'll get something like that. You've probably seen those kind of press releases, those interview requests that comes on the email. And yeah, yeah, a bit of behind the scenes, everyone that's watching or listening, what they're talking about. So yeah, behind the scenes, basically we get all these emails as well.
Yeah.
And that's how we like that's how all these YouTubers and get all these interviews. So they get these emails. So you know, so I just had to like probably give that information out. So they're going, so you know, because I'm very transparent.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
so we get these emails, and then I go, okay, cool. Who wants to interview this band with this person on these times? Any hands? Okay, you want to do it. All right, cool. Here's an assignment. So they get the assignment, and then basically they research it. If they don't want to do it, then I'll make a decision. Do I know the band that well?
mm,
Do I know their music inside out? Because I don't want to be an idiot, interview a band or a person, no, nothing. Like I can do my research and I can get those informations. Like I interviewed a band called Lick from Sweden.
mm,
With Knowles, I've been a fan since they released their music, but I didn't really know their music, so I had to do extensive research and plus
mm.
doing work at the same time. It kind of like will delay that. So by giving someone, that's why we recruited contributors that are passionate in their certain drama. Like Elias is death metal. Matt's kind of like he loves his death metal, but he likes his grindcore. He likes his modern stuff. He's very mixed.
Yeah,
Matt
yeah.
good. So and the way I operate this platform, it's like a sports channel, like ESPN.
Mm.
And are you a sports person?
Not really, but sort of.
Okay. Oh,
I am from Cough, so you can talk NRL if you want. I don't care if the Victorians have a cry about AFL.
oh, look, man, I don't. I pretty much like American sports coverage.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Ah,
find that
gotcha. Yeah.
American sports coverage are actually more in depth, very entertaining. You know, like NBA. You got like TNT's not around anymore, but there's a cable
Yeah,
channel.
TNT, yeah.
That's Shaquille O'Neal, Charles
Yeah.
Barkley. They're both, you know, it's kind of funny. They get to be themselves and they get to, you know, be what they do, basketball, talk about it.
Mm.
So that's why we created contributors like Elias and Matt, because they both got skills, they both play in the band. So when we interview bands, these guys are in a band.
Yeah.
And the idea of it was, you know, let's look at Elias from Anoxia as a good example. You know, like we interviewed atheists, so that's how. And I didn't know much about atheists. You know,
Mm.
like I you heard about. You know, sometimes I don't. You know, metal's so many bands out there, and there's so many obscure bands. So when you um get opportunities, you kind of like say, okay, who's the right person? So you know, Ellis was when I told you want to interview Kelly from Atheist. You know, I got a speech impairment as well, so I apologize for that. I keep mixing up the names, but um, I said, you want to interview Kelly, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm in. Well, okay, and that's how it started, and I'm glad that he put his hands up because I thought that interview that we did with Atheist that that interview that we did, he really showed through as host. You know, he
Yeah,
really
that was a really good interview, like bang up interview, like top notch. And I think the feedback was like people were like, "Whoa." I feel like that video was almost kind of like your guys' warning shot. Like you've just gone bang. Guess what, motherfuckers? Here's atheist, and boom, it's not just your average generic dude who's really into music who pretends to know his opinions. It's an actual muso, you know? Yeah. Do you feel
yeah
like you've got an eye of like of wanting having musicians, is it like for you having that authenticity and that like lived experience perspective for the people that you're interviewing, if that makes
yeah I
sense?
think
Yeah.
yeah I think that what's a good thing, it works both ways.
Mm.
With with Elias, you know, doing the interview, he was touring with the band. So as you know, he was doing the national tour when they were also as well, and at the same time, you know, he's in a band called Anoxia. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to like show people that when you work in media, like I said, I'm inspired by sports coverage.
Yeah.
Sorry, Victorians, but actually, I don't mind the AFL. Like, in the AFL, like, even the NRL, like in AFL, this, I don't know if he still plays AFL. Dangerfield, I don't know his name. I think he
Uh,
plays for,
yeah.
like,
I
so. Like I know Hawthorn, but back then I
yeah.
had the Hawks. I don't even know who's in the team anymore. I know Crawford's the coach, but let's use Shane Crawford or no Shane Hill. So I don't even know the names, man. But let's say I'll stick to the NRL. Sorry, Melbourne. We stick to the NRL. All right, say that JT Jonathan Thurston. This
Yeah.
is a good how the idea came about. So Jonathan Thurston, last 2 years of his playing,
Mm.
so retired. So Channel 9, they had the coverage. So they approached DG and said, look, you've got good character, you're very humbled, you've got this energy, and we want to see that energy off you. We want to see that in you. And we want to offer you a contract. And we'll
Mm.
still play. We'll give you a media contract. You come in to do sidelines when you're not playing. If it's, you come down and you just do some sideline commentary, get some
Yeah.
media, or or you're playing in Sydney, the next day you just go to the studio and just do the footy show in the studio, just talk about your views.
Mm.
Uh, so that's how Channel 9 recruits, even in sports coverage, they get players that play in the game because
Mm.
when they talk to players, they know what it's like.
Yeah.
That's why we get musicians like Alex, because he knows what's like. He's actually in the band right now. I haven't been in the band for 2 years, so you don't really, you can only talk about the basic of it. But when you get someone that's in it, that lives it, that's doing it for a career, and also at the same time, someone be like JT, we used to talk to the player. Oh, yeah, the Cowboys, we do this and we do that. Not too much detail, but just a snapshot, like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Just we do this and we do that. So with some, that's why we're getting Elios in. No, excuse me, I had Jennifer dinner, so it's coming to come out.
I'm glad I
So
don't
yeah,
have smell-o-vision then.
it's good about it's one thing about Sim Static, you just don't you get to see, you can do what you want, you can't smell. Don't but I think that with Elias, he's at the same time he's with an Oxio, and Oxio just done an album, successful album, where everyone's saying successful album, debut album, and we wanted to continue that momentum. So he goes in
Yeah.
and says, "Hi, Liz. I'm, welcome to Headbangers Australia. I'm also the guitarist of Oxio," because also he actually gets to promote his band, and
Mm.
that's what we want with our contributors who are musicians, that we get to showcase their band because we're starting to get audience. We might get audience from Asia, America, and they go, "What's an Oxia?" What is it?
Yeah.
How you spell? And, we probably put,
Yeah.
Hairbanks Australia. They go, "Oh," you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
like, and I was a bit sensitive about saying, "Oh, don't go overboard," but I'm like, look, if you introduce yourself, do say your band because you're actually showing people how you do your band. Like, that's even like they didn't do much in the like Channel V kind of days when they had people in bands. They kind of like I said, no, no. I'm like, you know what, fuck it, just do it.
Yeah.
Don't go overboard, but just what, this is a good opportunity. You're in media, so you get to do the content, but you can
Mm.
say I'm from that band,
Mm.
and it kind of helps their profile. That's what the aim of it, helps their profile, and they do the media. And we're kind of selective of who we bring in. We just don't get anyone in. We need someone that connects with the scene,
Yeah.
people in the scene as well, because we do we like to be more of a community platform while we want to be the scenes platform.
Yeah.
We want to be the headbangers ball vibe of MTV at the same time. We will also want to be the Australian version of live wire metal injection, where if we call BS industry BS stuff, like what we'll call it, as
Call
long
a
as we
spade
don't
a
get.
spade. Yeah. And
No,
you've got that authenticity behind you guys as like working and touring like musicians. You can
yeah.
say this is bullshit, and I'm not just saying that as a journalist. Nah, man, I've been there, I've done that. Like I'm a muso, like F off. Nah, that's not how
Yeah,
you do things. Yeah, which is
yeah.
good, and I think that's really important too. So Dan, for you, like we've blabbed a bit, probably gone a bit longer than you'd expected, but the problem with me, mate, now that I've got pro Zoom is I could talk forever. But
Yeah,
just before we kind of wrap up, just thinking in general for you at the moment. So look, man, it's really like I can hear and see both your passion and your details orientation with this, and like also the values like community, that sort of thing. It's kind of a two-pronged question, really. Considering where Headbangers had sort of started and where it is now,
yeah.
what do you find is some of the like, I guess, the more protective sides of running this thing, and what are some of the like more challenging aspects for you, like at the moment?
Yeah, yeah. So basically I think that with the first question, basically I think that we still got more work to do. I think
Yeah,
that we've got more work to do. I do feel that certain bands don't want to go to media, or they feel like if they go to one media, they ignore the other media because they don't want to be as, I don't want to like, they don't want bad blood. So we want to be the type of platform where it's like, you should use all media as possible. Labels do that. When those press releases with labels, they want many media as possible.
yeah,
So I think that we want to be more with our, as I said, with the hybrid subscription model. It's
yeah.
media support instead of media partner. Like it's like I'll be like, okay, cool, you got this. You go to all these other outlets, and I always use the Hollywood actor mo example model. Just
Right, yeah,
to get people to understand. If you like a Hollywood actor, they come to Australia to promote like, oh, this is an expensive movie. It's got to hit box office stuff, and say that you're the actor and I'm your publicist. And my job is to get you Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, SBS, ABC, two newspapers or three newspapers, four magazines. And that's what same thing I tell the band. So I go, or I could be like this. I don't like Channel 7 because they're assholes. Channel 10 and SBS. Who watches SBS? Magazines. Oh, who reads magazines? So
yeah.
you come, I'm like, oh, I only got you two. So that means that you only get to interview with two media outlets, and only those audience and those followers will know. It's hard to reach, but when you get every single media outlet to do your coverage and your promotion and your releases in your campaign, you want all of them because it gets you more coverage. More
Mm,
coverage you get, more exposure you get in that time frame, and these do impact your Spotify streams, your sales, your tickets. They do make an impact because
mm,
it's it's there. It's not hype. It's basically building a campaign to get that momentum of the energy going, and I think
mm,
that some bands, like I respect the bands that doing them do II. I think that that you do say money is productive, but I think that we kind of need something that we need, like we need PR, and we need PR that's affordable. So we kind of like working. That's why we call it a hybrid subscription. It hasn't been finalized. I've got one distribution partner from Europe to do standard promotion PR overseas lights, and it's like $150 on
mm,
top of your subscription. So subscription is that much, and then you pay a light package. So you built your package. So
mm,
therefore, that package will give you this much exposure. So it kind of lifts up your local and also your overseas. And then basically what the challenges that I have is that basically talking to bands and basically trying to sell what I can do, but I don't make promises. I never make promises to bands because I think that's a bad thing. You don't make promises because you can't control what you can't control. You can
Yeah.
only say, look, I do my best to do this. If you can, we need to communicate, we need to work as a team. And also at the same time that we've gone more busy, I've got like about 8 labels that I work directly.
Yeah.
They don't all come and talk to me at the same time, but just depends on campaigns. And so they want, because they're a label, they invest in the bands and they invest in the campaigns. And we do sometimes work with direct labels to get some promotion out of it for them. And then we've got YouTube, which is our big platform. And then when we're doing the Atheist interview, the media side of things got on hold because when YouTube, so our challenge is this, my personal challenge is when YouTube needs to be done, the media cannot be done because YouTube needs to be done. It's our main platform. And I don't mind the media being put on hold unless it's like embargo tour announcements. All right,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you gotta like adapt. And then once YouTube's out of the way, you do your media and you catch up, and they're like, oh, we've got that. So it's kind of like a balancing act. And I think
Yeah.
that's gonna be
Yeah.
for a long time until yeah, like that's one of the reasons why I went into a business and a legit like and going with the subscription because not just for us to be sustainable, but it's also the time, the coordination. Because once I get those PR international distributors coming on board, I will be spending like at least an hour or two communicating to band and to the PR firms in Europe because instead of the bands going directly, we'll be we'll be the middleman. So we kind of like, you know what, you can go spend time with your kids and your family, play your guitar. You don't need to stress about your album launch. You just need to give us a few details. We'll send it off to them, and some agencies will do A, B, and C. Some will do the other A and B and C. Depends on what is right for you. So that's where I will talk to the bands and we'll find out what's the right solution because we don't want to have a band that's got no like on a budget and we don't want to make them spend top dollar
Yeah.
where they're going to go broke. So we probably like, look, you need to spend that. And a good thing about we haven't released it yet, but a good thing is that when it does come, and that's going to be the challenge part as well, is that we're not going to hide the prices. We're going to put it on our socials and go, this is the price
Yeah. Yeah.
because some PR firms in Australia and I find that over overseas they don't show the prices. You have to.
Hmm.
I come from a retail background. I used to be a store manager for retail office works, and I used to work for JB Hi-Fi. So I'm basing all these models on my experience in retail. If you got to offer products and services, put the prices.
Yeah.
End of the day, bands should have the right to choose who they want to go with.
Yep.
They shouldn't feel like they have to go to one person because if one person does media as well, they're like, oh, I don't want to go to the other media because I don't want to piss them off. So we're kind of like my Headbangers Australia's I guess philosophy. It's about we want to work with other media as well. Like we're not bang, bang, bang. It's like, like you do what you do, we do what we do. Like I don't mind being the SBS. If you want to be Channel 7, that's fine. That's up to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's basically just saying that, we've got to educate bands like you need to use authorized media outsource, like the YouTubers. If you go to one, you should go to the other one as well because and you
Mm.
should not make a decision, oh, I just don't feel like if I go to them, I piss him off. It's like you're the actor. You're the
Yeah.
Hollywood actor. The bands are the Hollywood actors. You've got media outlets. You got to utilize all media to get more chances. And that's something that I've really emphasized that a lot since day one, since Headbangers Australia, when I started to do free promo. The
Mm.
reason why I did free promo was my training. It was my
Yeah.
apprenticeship. Learn
Yeah.
what worked, learn what didn't work. And then once I'm like, you know what, I think that I've got what I'm after, or I think there's more challenges. Now let's implement that because it's more pressure. And I like
Mm.
pressure, especially in
Yeah.
business. It's like you get to learn and you get to adapt. And I think that that's what keeps me focused. It's my passion.
Yeah.
It helps me heal, like with my, as I said, with my mental illness. It basically helps me fill me up, and I like the impact that the scene has. You know, when I get messages from you saying, "Oh, good job, man, good job, bro," I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." Like it has an impact, and we're not perfect. You know, this platform we'll make mistakes like everyone do, but we'll apologize. You know, we that's what we know, but we can promise that we'll always serve the scene and try to give the best possible coverage for the bands. And at the same time, we also need to adapt into that kind of direction that we've made that announcement to provide coverage and provide some solutions and to be transparent. So when you come and do our services, you know how much you know how much what it is, you know what how much it's paying. And then when we have meetings, I go into more transparency. You know, I'll go, look, this is what
Mm.
this cost is this cost and this cost is that cost or my, you know, all that boring crap. And then, you know, and then it's like, well, then you got then it's got to be a formalized agreement because now that you're a business, you can't just do like off the book stuff
Yeah.
because you've got to be legit, man. And I think that some people that are now operating as business and people, like especially in Australia, like I've gone and they've been very successful at it. And I think that Anthony Blaney from Your Mate Bookings, I think that what he's done in the last couple of years
Yeah.
from local bands and now getting obscure bands, you know, he runs a
Mm.
business. And and it's kind of he's one probably one of my inspirations because I see how he operates and I'm like, I want to do that with media. You know, you're just like get the bands, you help them out going forward, but it's like got to be formalized, it's got to be that and that because it's got to be a commitment. If you're not committed to it, there's no point in promoting and giving these guys coverage because you don't want it. If you got to be hungry, you got to have that hunger. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you know, it's easy to make band, it's easy to form bands and make music, but if you don't have that that hunger, and you want to get something out of it, you got to utilize every media. So I'll leave it as
Mm.
that, man. I know I talked too long, but
Nah, it's all good. It's been a fantastic chat, man. I think my last question for you, I think, and it's very generic rock journalist bullshit question, but like we've talked a lot about like the landscape of the music industry and press and that sort of thing. What advice would you have? I guess since we've touched on mental health too, yeah, and you've mentioned that this is a project that's like nourishing for you. It can also be challenging, that sort of thing. What kind of advice would you have for someone who's looking to do something similar to yourself and maybe just struggling or might just have like low self-esteem around it? Like, what kinds of words of advice or encouragement would you give to someone in that sort
uh,
of situation?
I would say to them that whatever you're like passionate about, what you care, what you want, like the reason why I did it because I like to sing. They make me feel like family. And over the time, you know, you get to learn stuff, but I love to sing. I love going to gigs. You know, I love going to gigs. I like having a beer with people. I like having a chat. And, you know, I still like those things. And I wanted to give something for them, like, and for the bands, because I felt that, like, you know, we're talking about the media and stuff like that. I feel like certain medias, like, because we focus on stream music, like we're very selective with rock and punk, but
Mm,
you know, we're currently working with a label in Holland. They've got like a black metal band and they're doing a release.
mm,
Um, so we want to be a platform where we want to work with black metal bands and give them the kind of stuff that respects their genre of music. And also extreme metal bands. I feel like the you know like the grindcores, the death metal bands, they don't get enough coverage. Even the power metal bands, even the local ones, you know,
yeah,
like
absolutely. Yeah.
they just overlook at them and they go. And now metal, you know, you've got the modern metal, you know, like the ones that the kids like, you know, like you know, like I don't, I'm not a big fan of it, but I expect what they've done and what they achieved. A lot of so much Australian bands have been successful in that genre of music, but you've got all
Mm.
these metal, your thrash metal, your death metal, and we want it to be the platform. And I guess that's what made me drive me to do what I did. So for a person that needs what I would tell them is like you got to find something that drives you,
Yeah.
something that drives you. You know, like if it's playing basketball, just play basketball. Just do it over and over. You know, like if you're angry, take it on the ball. Take it on something. You know, if you need to channel that, you just do something that you love. And I think that that's what works for me. I just want it to give something back to the scene. I want it to show that, like, we talk about mental health, and what people don't understand about mental health is that they talk about it, but when they see it in their own eyes, they turn a blind eye. That's my experience.
Yeah.
Uh, that's my experience. But, they turn a blind eye. And that's why we have incentives called, I don't know if you heard, we do a incentive called the Inner Mosh Pit.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where we talk about mental health. So I've interviewed two guests. We talk about what they go through, how it impact on them, what they do for resilience and how they challenge it. And for them to like call it as it is. What you think, what is the scene like for you? If you think it's good, good. Because you find that people go, oh yeah, the scene is awesome, cool yeah, yeah, cool yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not like that.
No, no, no.
Like
Yeah.
this is what we want to be. We want to be the platform. You get to express your voice,
Yeah.
you know, to express it. So, and I think that for someone that wants to do what I've done, if you've got to do, if you want to give something back, you're
Yeah.
going to channel that anger into something passion, and you're going to use that passion to give something back. So I
Yeah.
guess what I could say, man, because I'm not an expert on it, and I've never thought I don't want to. I'm not a one model, and I don't want to be like that. I'll just go, look, this is what I do. This is what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I've kept you long enough and it's been a fantastic chat, dude. So, thanks heaps. Everyone check out Headbangers. I will have all the links in the show notes. And Dan, thanks so much for taking the time out to go through your process, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, it's been a pleasure having you, mate.
No, no, thank you for having me, and good to meet you, man. Good to meet you through Zoom. So
Yeah, finally.
hopefully we'll get to catch up one day at a gig and yeah, hang out. But thank you so much for having me. And you're always welcome to come to Headbangers at any time if you want to do some stuff, mate. You're always
Yeah,
welcome to come along. We can
if I
cross.
ever find myself in Sydney for some strange reason.
Oh, look, man, I
Yeah.
might come to Melbourne.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see, man. No, it's been a good chat. Thank you so much, brother.
No worries, mate.
All right.